Hey everyone, and welcome back to Sasquatch Theory. Today I will be reading off more Bigfoot emails, so I hope you guys are enjoying them, and I've been reading everyone's positive feedback, and I really appreciate that, guys. You guys are the best, and I couldn't do this without you guys. The cicadas are going off, and that's going to be annoying, so hopefully the microphone doesn't pick it up too bad. But yeah, let's get right into it. Alright, this first email was submitted by Derek, and let's get into it. Hey Miguel, first of all, I love the production on your videos. You have a talent for editing. I enjoy all your content. I've told this story to maybe half a dozen people. I'm 52 now, but this occurred when I was 10. Back then there was no internet, so I spent a lot of my time fishing and reading when I was a kid. This particular day, I got up before sunrise and headed to a little pond that I could reach on my bike. The pond wasn't super huge, maybe 75 yards from one end to another, and maybe half a football field across. I had a little spot near the bank down a small hill. On both sides was high grass. The moon was still super bright, and I didn't need a light to cast my fishing rod. I was fishing catfish anyway, so I just let the bait rest on the bottom and paid attention if the reel clicked. I got myself settled in and was about asleep when I heard movement in the timber on the other side of the water. I looked and saw 4 sets of eyeshine not too deep in the trees. It was very distinctive and not too yellow or red like I've heard in other reports. It was just bright. At first I thought it was coyotes because they are very common in the area. Then I couldn't understand what I was seeing at all. The shine was far too high to be dogs, coyotes, or anything else. It wasn't coyotes. The first one stepped out by the bank, looked around, and I dove into the grass on my right. I think it was a male, but I couldn't tell you anything definitive that gives me that idea. When I looked again, he was gone. It was dark brown, very even hair, and big, but I have no concept of how tall. I can't say if he was 7 feet or 10 feet tall. I have no definition on the face, to be honest. I was moving to cover before he even fully stepped out. I've only been scared like that one other time, and it was during a firefight. Anyways, he was gone. As I was looking, 2 little ones and another big one came out of the water. I never saw the big one again. Again, I hate to disappoint you with lack of detail, but when that happened, I buried my face in the grass and concentrated on not running. I remembered thinking that would be a bad idea and that I'd never make it back up the hill to my bike without drawing attention. I can tell you that the little ones were different sizes, and the other one I think was another adult. I have the feeling now that she was a female, but I've got no evidence to support that. They spent probably 10 minutes doing something in the water at the bank. I can't tell you what it was because I wasn't looking. I was trying to not even breathe. I did hear sounds from the little ones, sort of squeaky sounds. Maybe talk, I can't say. I never heard the big ones. I didn't move until it started getting light. I never saw them leave or where they went, but they were gone. Honestly, I never even heard them leave, so I have no clue if they went the way they came or if they just left in a different direction. I pulled in my line and got the hell out of there. Thanks for doing the show, Derek. My response to him was, thank you for writing in your encounter to me. Could you see any more than eyeshine? It sounds like Bigfoot activity. Do you think the ambient light from the moon had the eyes glowing? Anyways, thank you for sharing, and I plan on reading it out on the channel one day soon. If you ever wanted to do a phone call interview, feel free to reach out. Take care. Okay, and then he replied back with, yes, I saw 4 complete bipeds step out from the tree cover over the course of about 90 seconds, I'd guess. I had been sitting on the bank for maybe 30 minutes before I noted the eyeshine of 4 things that I just assumed were coyotes. It was back in the timber across from me, so when the eyes seemed too high, I just thought they were deep in the trees. It wasn't until the first one stepped out that I realized it wasn't coyotes. I feel confident they didn't see me seated on the opposite side of the bank because the grass around me was probably 3 feet tall, and I've never been very tall. My rod would have been the only thing visible, but it was black in color. I have the idea now that they were scanning around before coming to the water. I do think the eye shine was moonlight reflection. I don't think it was some sort of self-illumination. The first one was bigger in stature and the width as well. As I mentioned, I felt it was a male, but no conclusive evidence of that. He stepped out, but to be honest, it was more like he slid out from behind a tree. It was like a glide. I remember his movement was almost graceful. He was looking to my left, which would have been to the south. I was on the east bank, almost directly across from him. I got a good view, but not for long. To be honest, I was so scared, so fast, I rolled to my right into the grass. His hair was dark, and the length didn't seem very shaggy. He looked as wide as a small car across the shoulders, and I remember he had a big, huge butt. He was sort of angled looking down the lake, so I only saw one arm, but it hung well below his waist. I couldn't see anything else below the knees. When I peeked back out, he was gone. The next to appear was the two smaller ones. The first one was down on all fours. They might have been the same size, but I feel like the one on all fours was smaller or younger. I have no evidence of that either. I've always wondered since then if the younger ones drop down on all fours more than adults, or if they crawl before they can walk. The length of the hair was similar, but it seemed more reddish in color with both of them. A third followed right behind, and she, I think it was a she, was not as tall or broad as the first one, but I remember her head was super pointy, more than the others. I never saw them exit the trees. It must have been when I was hiding. I saw the little ones sort of make a jump, hop, or maybe a crawl toward the bank on their side, and then that's when I buried my head in the grass and started praying. After that, I heard the water splashing and two squealing or squeaking sounds that reminded me now of the sound my kids make when he opens a great present on Christmas. I don't mind telling you that I didn't look again, and I didn't move a muscle until there was daylight, and I hadn't heard anything for a long time. I never saw them leave, and I have no clue what they did in the water. Even though this event happened over the course of probably 30 minutes, I only saw them for maybe 10 to 15 seconds between the first sighting and when I looked again. I hope this adds clarification. Yes, it certainly does, Derek, and I really do appreciate you for submitting your story. And I remember reading this a while back, and yeah, I'm glad I finally got to it. Sorry it took so long. And I had the same experience here to my right at the edge of the woods. I was in my house, and I started hearing what sounded to me like a chimp getting ripped apart. Later on, I figured out it was foxes vocalizing, and I even saw foxes. About 3 foxes came out of the woods into the yard and went back into the woods, and then I heard what I thought was a group of deer coming to the edge of the woods at the edge of the yard, and it sounded like they were on all fours, and I was almost certain that it was deer. I had my spotlight in my hand and my camcorder in the other hand, and I couldn't figure out the settings on that Panasonic camcorder at the time, so I wasn't able to get good footage. But basically, after these foxes came out, a group of what I thought were deer came out at the edge of the woods, and their eyes were all glowing yellow, and basically their eyes were like doing this number. There was about 4, 5, 6 creatures, I don't remember, but the eyes did glow. I don't know if it was self-illumination or from my spotlight. I'm pretty sure it was from my spotlight. Whenever I'd hit them, they would glow. But yeah, they were like bobbing up and down. They're probably about 3 to 4 feet off the ground. And as I was holding the spotlight, the camcorder was in this hand, sorry. I was shining it right in their eyes, and they were bobbing up and down. One of the sets of eyes, as soon as I thought, no, that can't be Sasquatch because the eyes are too low to the ground, that must be deer. As soon as that thought came across my head, one of the sets of eyes went to about, like, I would say 7 to 9 feet, and that really freaked me out. After that happened, I heard bipedal footsteps coming in the direction where the foxes came from. And there was this clearing in the woods, so I moved the spotlight from them over to that clearing, and I'm holding it right there because that's the only spot that I can see into the woods in that direction where whatever this thing is coming from. And that creature stepped right into that clearing, and it didn't look over or anything. It just walked right through that clearing, and it was going in the direction of that whole group of Sasquatch. It was very freaky seeing that, and what the creature looked like was, if you guys ever watched that one channel, shoot, what's it called, Arkansas Bigfoot, he shows this photo of this Sasquatch called Sobey the Gray. That's basically exactly what it looked like. And yeah, I don't know much about that channel, but I do know the photo that he shows is exactly what the creature that I hit with the spotlight looked like. Okay, so give me some slack when I talk about these other channels, because I know people say bad things about them, and yeah, I don't want to get into all that, but I know. Okay, anyways, that really freaked me out. And yeah, I do think the juveniles are on all fours most of the time. They do stand up, but when they walk, it's really awkward. They move kind of like a gorilla when it tries to stand up. From what I've seen anyways, it's really goofy, but when they're on all fours, they move like chimps, like spiders, and it's freaky. I've had moments where I know the Sasquatch are around, boom, they come in, you can hear them, and then after a few minutes, maybe 30 minutes or so, everything just goes quiet. They disappear. You don't know if they're still around or if they just completely left the area. And yeah, it's freaky because people talk about cloaking. And yeah, they are natural creatures of this earth. I wouldn't say natural, you know, they could be some type of alien genetical creation, but they do live here. They are on this plane. There isn't just one Sasquatch, there's multiple Sasquatch out there, but it's hard to say if they do disappear, if the cloaking is true. I've had weird experiences, and I'm not going to get into those right now, but yeah, I've had experiences that have changed my mind on the cloaking. I'm still not sold on the pareidolia stuff, but I do appreciate people going out there, taking photos and analyzing it. So that's what you got to do, but at the same time, yes, they can go invisible. Maybe they can be partially invisible according to the stories that people have shared, but I don't know. If you're filming with a cell phone or a GoPro and you're getting these pareidolia shots, I don't know. I can't say much about it, but if you're actually using a camera with a lens on there or a camcorder with optical zoom, maybe you got something. You know, if you're using a drone, possibly, but things that use digital zoom, I'm not a big fan of. I know drones use digital zoom, but when you're up there in the sky, you're seeing things that we can't see from down below. So I don't know, that seems to be a very touchy subject in the Bigfoot community, pareidolia and the people that share it, just because people want to come on the show and share that type of stuff. I don't have so many people anymore since I mentioned that I don't really subscribe to that, but I mean, obviously the creatures can get right up on you within maybe 10 to 30 feet in the wood line. There are some strange photos out there, but not every single one is Bigfoot. My thing is, when you zoom into a photo and you start seeing the pixels, the squares, if there's only like 4 different squares and the head of the Sasquatch is within those 4 little pixels, when you zoom back out, that means the Sasquatch's head would have been the size of this leaf. Especially when people say they're right behind you, like there's a face. I mean, if you think Bigfoot's head is that big, you know what I mean? So it does get a little weird when you dive into the pareidolia and the people that follow it. I don't know, I'm looking for more tangible evidence, but like I said, I appreciate everyone who brings anything forward, even if it's nothing. At least people are looking into the subject. We're all on the same page as far as Sasquatch exists out in the woods. So whatever perspective you have and approach that you take, that's fine. And I'm not here to ridicule anybody. I'm just saying with my approach, because there's a lot of people that contact me and say, hey, you're doing everything the wrong way. You're never going to get a photo of the Sasquatch doing what you're doing. You need to listen to me. If you want my advice, you better listen. That whole sort of thing. And listen, I don't have a big ego. I know it sounds like it, but you got to understand, I'm doing the same thing as you guys behind the scenes. I'm zooming in. I'm always taking video, photos, and when I get home, I blow it up on my big screen and I'm looking too, but I don't know. I know people will still say that there's Sasquatch around me. I didn't even see them, but I just want you guys to know that I'm using higher end cameras than you guys, most of you guys that are telling me this anyways, and I film all the time. I film every day, so who knows. I know a lot of times my camera will blur out the background, and I'll try to fix that. I think I have to open up my f-stop a little bit. That way I get more field of view, more depth. But yeah, it seems like when it blurs out everything behind me, we're not going to catch anything anyway, so I'm going to have to fix that setting. But yeah, let's get into the next email, alright guys? Alright, let's keep rolling through the Bigfoot emails. This next email was submitted by Jen, and she's from Kansas. Hi Miguel, I'm a huge fan of your YouTube channel. You do such a great job and always present your content in an interesting way. I live in Delaware, and I have only heard of a couple of Sasquatch sightings in my little state. I was walking my German Shepherd Maggie on a state preserve last winter when she suddenly bolted off the trail down on a deer trail. I followed her and found this weird structure with a stone circle next to it. It was only about 50 yards into the tree line, and it was close to the edge of the pond, maybe 20 feet from the edge. Does this look man-made to you, or like it could have been built by Bigfoot? The weirdest thing to me is that there are no big rocks like that anywhere in that area, and they had to be brought in from somewhere else. I included a Google Earth pic and circled the location. Thanks for looking at my photos. Again, your channel is amazing, and I'm a huge fan. I'm from southeast Kansas originally, and I had no idea Bigfoot lived so close to my hometown until you enlightened me. You're awesome. Keep up the great work. Jen from Delaware. Thank you so much, Jen, for sharing your photos and what you found. Yeah, that is very interesting, and I'll try to show the viewers right now on my phone. I'm not sure how that'll work, but if you guys look, that looks pretty weird. That looks like some pagan type of structure. Could be people, but at the same time, Sasquatch are hominids, guys. You know, they do the same things as people. You know, if they walk across a field, it looks like a man in a suit. If they leave a track, it looks like a person's track. Look at that rock circle. Haven't we talked about these rock circles? I found one right down there, and I've shown it, I've talked about it, and it is weird because it's an area that no one's going to camp in. It's private property. It's down in a creek bottom in the deepest part of the woods in this section. So like it gets a lot colder down there. You can't hear much. There's a lot of mosquitoes and ticks, and whoever set up the rock circle down there, you know, where's the fire pit? Why didn't you burn a fire? So yeah, it could just be people, but at the same time, I've had a lot of activity right there. The strange thing was, whenever I was filming that rock circle, something threw a rock from across the creek and it hit a little sapling. I only caught it, I barely caught it. I barely even saw it. So like by the time I looked over, I saw something brown fly across the air, and I heard rock on rock, pow. and then when I fully looked over, I saw that sapling going back and forth on my side of the creek. So whatever threw that, if something was thrown, it was so thick back in there that I wouldn't be able to see. But where that rock was thrown, in the fall of 2019, I was sitting there with my camcorder, my rifle, and it was deer season. I was putting on my camo face mask, put on my hat, set up my camera. I was sitting down, and about 15 minutes later, I start hearing rock clacking right there where that rock circle is. And the rock circle wasn't there at this time, but the point is I've had a lot of activity in that one little spot. So I'm sitting there and I flip open the viewfinder, and I hit record, and it's still happening. So I'm excited. Whenever I was having the activity in 2019, it didn't matter that I had my camcorder. You know, they were confident enough in their ability that it didn't matter what I had. But yeah, it seemed like they didn't care that I was recording them, and I got solid rock on rock. So yeah, that was pretty cool. But yeah, I appreciate you sharing those photos. Those are really cool, and I'll also throw them up while I'm reading the story so people can see them a little better. But yeah, here's the next one. I don't know how well you guys can see that. Yeah, that's pretty strange. And I had a guy from Tennessee, his name was Dale, and he sent me some structures that he found in the Cumberland Plateau area. And these structures were very intricate. They looked similar to this, but they were like in teepees, sidewalls, similar to that. And there was just all kinds of structures as far as X's and arches down there. And he did an excellent job at documenting the photos. I interviewed him, and I hope he's doing good. Dale, if you're listening, giving you a shout out, and I hope you're doing good, man. I'm always thinking about you, and those structures that you sent me just blow my mind. And I know the structures that Jen just sent me, I'm always going to keep those filed in my mind, and when I'm walking in the woods, I'm going to be looking for that type of stuff. I'm not just going to walk past it. I'm going to be like, oh yeah, somebody shared that with me, you know. So I'll be able to put two and two together, and when other people submit their encounters, their stories, I'll be like, yeah, Jen and Dale. And also there was a guy from the Mark Twain National Forest close to Columbia, Missouri. He shared, I think it was a teepee structure, and like a little fort, and it was huge, it was intricate, and he said he found it deep in the Mark Twain. I asked him, you know, let's go in there, but he said it was years ago and they're not there anymore. So I wasn't really interested in going after he said the structures weren't there anymore. And I asked him if he looked around, and he said he had, and he didn't find anything. But yeah, it'd be cool if people contact me when they find the stuff, when they're having activity. I mean, obviously I don't mind if people contact me years later, because it takes a while to put two and two together, and obviously people are kind of sketched out about talking openly about the subject. But yeah, if there are people that haven't experienced Bigfoot activity and they're watching this show later down the road, you're in Missouri, you live around here, you experience something, give me a call. Like, if they're out there, you've seen them multiple times, there's been stuff happening for months, that is the best time to do research. I mean, I don't mind going to all these properties and investigating where people have heard wood knocks, you know, years ago, or they found an arch 2 years ago. That's fine, but I believe they move on. You know, the Boggy Creek situation happens, and then boom, doesn't happen for another 15 years, and you don't know where it's going to hit next. It could be Florida, it could be Washington, it could be Alaska, and you just can't predict this stuff. The Sasquatch will decide when they're going to terrorize people, if that's what they decide to do, or if they just simply want to interact with people and move on. You know, you never see them, never hear them again. It's hard to say, but the best chance that we're going to have to get one of these things on film is somebody contacting me immediately, and I get down there and things happen. One guest that really helped me achieve that goal was Mike from Understanding Bigfoot, and he contacted me through the comments and said, hey, we got a cabin and we'd like you to come out. You know, I'd like to do a show with you. Maybe we can do a podcast together. And I didn't know who he was, so he ended up commenting again, and he's like, hey, I emailed you or commented, and you never replied. So I called him up, and I was like, hey, what's going on? I, I get busy, guys. I apologize, but I was glad I contacted him, because when Mike took me out there that night, we experienced Bigfoot activity, and it was so cool. I'll always talk about it just because it shocked me. Like, you cannot predict when these things are going to come out or what you're going to find, what they're going to do, and it blows your mind every time. It's a complete mind bender. So if you haven't experienced the activity, of course you're going to be like, huh? Because when you find this stuff, you're like, what? No, what is this? You think about 1,000 different things other than Bigfoot. And then once you start hearing other people's encounters, their stories, it really puts two and two together. So I hope you guys know that everyone that's been sharing information and openly talking about this, you have helped the people so much. And yeah, I really appreciate it, guys. I've been watching the Sean Ryan show, and he's got some really interesting interviews, and it really gives you a better perspective of what's going on behind the scenes of the United States. Now, granted, nobody really knows who's in control, but there's people that know bits and pieces that have been in the inside, and they're openly talking about this. People are tired of what's going on. They're fed up with the crap, the manipulation, the control, and the sick and disgusting things that are going on in this country. And yeah, we're not going to stand for it anymore. We're going to openly share these stories. We're not going to get stepped on by people who are breaking the law and working outside of the Constitution. But yeah, I've been watching Sean Ryan's show, and I was going to ask you guys, what do you think? Now let me open this up. Sorry, this might take a minute. What do you think about Stephen Greer's? I think that's his name, Stephen Greer. He talks about the alien disclosure and how he briefed people like in the CIA, Department of Defense, the minister in the UK, and all kinds of people about the existence of aliens and how they are real. What do you guys think about that? Isn't that some interesting stuff? Even if all of it isn't accurate, his assumption of what's going on and his theories are pretty dead on with what people are thinking is going on, if that makes sense. He talks about the secret government and how there's another government in control working outside of the US government that is kind of global, and they're running the scenes. They control the media, they control our senators or politicians and high political figures. But it seems like anybody that doesn't want to roll with what they're doing, they don't tell them. They only tell people who are willing to break the law and do whatever it takes to harm the people. That's pretty sad. Even if Steven isn't right, that seems to be what's going on. So, yeah, if you guys can, share your Bigfoot encounters. Even if you got a big job, a big important job, this is more important than your job. I hate to say it, but if you believe that there's a higher power than yourself, tell the truth, because I believe that if you do the right thing, the good Lord will take care of you. So don't worry about your job, worry about doing the right thing. If you do the wrong thing, it always has consequences. So, but yeah, doing the wrong thing always has worse consequences. So be sure to tell the truth, share your encounter. Don't take it to your grave, because we're all going to meet the Lord one day. We all put our pants on one leg at a time. So it's time to share your guys' story before it's too late and we are completely screwed, okay? But yeah, moving on to the next Bigfoot email. And I appreciate you, Jen. Thank you so much, and it really means a lot to me. Alright, moving on to our next Bigfoot email, and this story was submitted by I will talk to you only if you do not use my name without permission. I grew up 2 miles from St. Clair, Missouri. I went to Catholic school there. My parents had a business there for decades. I grew up on the Merrimack River. I live several hundred miles away now. I've watched some of your videos. If you are not familiar with the Wrights Lodge Road area, you should be. I suspect most of your footage is between Red Horse Access, where the Burbus meets the Merrimack, and a bit west of where Indian Creek joins the Merrimack at Highway K. I am surprised you have not had people report sightings on the Burbus between Rikers Ford and Union. The house I grew up in was a relatively short walk from the Burbus off of Highway 47 in the Highway AD area. By the way, I am not some ignorant crackpot. I hold a master's degree and am a trained investigator. I worked in the justice field for many years and am a seasoned outdoorsman. I was a scout leader for many years and teach or have taught hunter safety and outdoor skills for over 30 years in 2 states, including Missouri. I have absolutely nothing to gain by speaking up. I am near 60 and have carried what I know for nearly 45 years. Well, I appreciate you getting in contact with me. And yeah, I'm not going to say your last name, so no one's going to know. All right, I appreciate you sharing your email, and yeah, it seems like you want to keep everything confidential, so I won't even say your first name, and I'll edit that part out of the video because I read it off in the title. But yeah, that area is super hot with Sasquatch activity, and it's about 48 minutes from me. I know of the area. That's where I did a video at an area close to Little Indian Creek, and my guest Dennis, who now passed away, he's not with us anymore, he found a lot of Bigfoot tracks there, and a lot of them in different shapes and sizes. So it is definitely a hot area, and I know whereabout you're talking about. So if you do want to share your story one day, if you are listening to this, I would love to hear it. And for the people listening, I did get in contact with them, and I kept pressing him, and eventually he just kind of ghosted me, disappeared. So yeah, it seems like he doesn't want to openly talk, but that's okay, just because I understand there's a lot of pressure and a lot of ridicule that goes along with this. So yeah, I don't want anybody losing their job, but it would be nice to hear your story. So I do appreciate you for sharing the area that you did, and yeah, I'd love to hear about the full story one day if you ever wanted to talk about it. But yeah, let's move on to the next Bigfoot email, and I apologize. It takes a while for the stories to load up on my phone here, and it seems like I can't change the font in Office. I don't know why certain stories, it won't let me change the font. So that's kind of annoying. This one, it will, so that'll make things easier. If you guys see me struggling, stopping, it's because the font's so small. I think they copied it off of Note. Yeah, I think it's called Note. And it just makes all the letters real small. So it makes it really difficult to read, and it's nobody's fault but my own, okay? All right, this next story is from Ricky, and yeah, let's get into it. Hello, I wanted to share my encounter that happened in mid-February of 2011. It wasn't a sighting, but an encounter that has concerned me ever since. I love to crappie fish. The place I was on, I love to crappie fish. The place I was on the MS/Alabama state line in Middle MS. Not sure what MS is. It's an older river oxbow that was cut off when they straightened the river for barge traffic. It was mid-February, late morning. I was fishing alone, and there were no other boats in the area. The area is only accessible by boat. The old river made a sharp bend back to the east. I'd shut down the motor and was using a trolling motor. When I got to the bend, I heard a loud whoop just one to the north of me in the swamp. Sorry guys. Yeah, a lot of the sentences are cut short, cut in half, and that's just how it's going to be. I didn't pay it much attention, just kept fishing about 20 feet from the bank. I'd gone another 50 feet more and I heard another long whoop, but this time it was a little closer and to the east. I still didn't pay much attention. I kept moving, and shortly another whoop paralleled me, maybe 75 yards in the swamp. I started to listen a bit more, but when I was looking, I heard nothing. I went back to fishing, and it wasn't long before another whoop straight out from where I was, following along as I moved. So basically it was paralleling them. It did this for about 300 yards as I fished along the bank. I wasn't catching anything, so I decided to crank up and move about 1/4 of a mile further down. As soon as I started fishing again, it wasn't long before there was another whoop right out from where I was. I hiked for a while but never saw anything. I didn't know what it was, but it was concerning to me. I cranked up again and decided to move to another spot about 2 miles around the old river run. It took a few minutes to make the move. Where I wanted to fish, it was too shallow getting the motor, so I used the trolling motor to get to the deeper water. I got to where I wanted to fish, and there it was again. Another whoop, about 200 feet in front of me to my left. It wasn't long after that there was another one to my front right, a bit further out. Then another one to my left, and another one to my right. Needless to say, I left there as fast as I could. I told my friends what happened, but of course they just laughed. I didn't care that they did. I know what happened. I don't scare easy, but this had me very, very concerned. I have a couple more encounters in the same area, but nothing like this. Randy. Wow, that was very interesting, and yeah, I'm going to take a screenshot of that. Actually, I'm going to text you right now because I think I missed this one. But yeah, I'd love to do an interview with you, and we do hear all kinds of stories where people are just fishing, having a good time, and all of a sudden a rock gets thrown into the water, or they hear a loud whoop, or something happens. You know, they have an eye sighting encounter, and it goes hand in hand with hunting and fishing and just being in the outdoors in general. So a lot of campers, RVers, people that are out in the woods experience this type of activity. But yeah, they wanted your fish, man, and I think they were hoping you would catch something. It's kind of weird they followed you around no matter where you went, even though you didn't catch any fish. At least I don't think you did. I'm going to contact you to see what else happened, because I want to know more about your encounters, and I want to see if you're marked. It seems like a lot of people are marked, and these creatures, no matter where you go, they'll follow you around. I've even heard stories where people go, they have an experience where they live, or you know, in their home state, and they'll go somewhere else, let's say Arizona, Colorado, and they go out in the woods and experience activity. I've heard a lot of stories like that. I've had a lot of experiences like that. So it seems like there is this strange connection with people in Sasquatch, whether they're being marked, or who knows, maybe the aliens put some type of chip inside of you, and aliens and Bigfoot go hand in hand, and they're able to follow you around. It's hard to say. Maybe the aliens do the experiments at night, and the Sasquatch keep an eye on you no matter where you go. Or it could just be they caught your scent, and they want to prove who's the king of the forest, and they follow people around to prove that point. And it's not just one little spot that they want the whole territory. So it's hard to say, guys. It's hard to say if there's only 4 or 5 of them out there in a clan, or if there's actually like 16 to 30 of them. No one really knows, so it's hard to say how much space they're actually occupying at a time, or if, you know, they are tricksters. They want to confuse us, play jokes on us, and see our reaction. It's kind of strange, but that's what they do. And a lot of folklore talks about these trolls and these giants, and how they had supernatural abilities, and how they were tricksters, and how they were part of the fallen angels, the Nephilim. And when I say Nephilim, it doesn't mean that I think Bigfoot is Nephilim. It means that there was an advanced race here a long time ago, or maybe multiple races, and they were practicing genetical experiments, and Sasquatch, cryptids, dogman, all of that is a byproduct of when the Nephilim occupied planet Earth. And I don't have any proof of that. I just listen to the stories, underground archaeology, underground science, and I put two and two together from all the conspiracies and the evidence that's been shown, guys. I think there's more proof in all the conspiracies than all the BS that's being openly shared today with the media and with the school system in general. What's being taught with public officials is just mainly BS. It's all a show. So welcome to the show, guys. Sit back, eat some popcorn, and watch it all go down. No, but seriously, we're gonna keep barreling through these emails. There was one email that I was not able to get through, and it was by a guy named Jim. It just seemed like a lot of the story wasn't put together very well, and it was so incomplete that even if I went in there and proofread it, I would be making up part of the story, because it was just, I don't know, it wasn't put together right. So I feel guilty making a story flow and sound right, when in reality I'm just changing it and guessing on certain parts. I don't want to do that. I don't want to guess on people's stories. But yeah, I don't mind putting in punctuation, checking the spelling, and just changing a sentence that I know what they were trying to say, if that makes sense. You know, if I know that you're trying to say something, I'll just change it for you. So I apologize if the writer knows that I've went in and changed a few things, but that was just to make the story flow a little bit better. But yeah, I appreciate you guys listening to these Bigfoot emails. I know I get stuck a lot. I stumble and fumble on my words, so I apologize. But yeah, the point of reading these Bigfoot emails is to get everyone's story out there so no one feels left out. And it's just me running the channel, so it's hard to do everything on my own. And there was a point where I just got backed up, okay, guys? So I can't help that, and I just got to keep rolling and moving through the punches. And if anyone feels left out, or maybe I forgot an email, didn't reply to someone, anything, if you feel like you've been left out, please contact me, let me know, and I'd love to do an interview with you. I'd love to read your email, and I am pretty sure I've lost people's emails, and I don't really know what's going on because I check one email at a time. But I've had instances where, like, I've typed in, let's say, David in my search box in the email, and I find a completely different David that I wasn't looking for, and it's always an unread email. So I'm like, how did I miss this? Like, I know I would have replied to this. But yeah, kind of like what we talked about earlier with the control, I know for a fact people are manipulating my channel, cutting down the numbers, chopping everything up, thinking no one's going to notice, unsubscribing people, deleting comments, and things just don't pop up. For example, one weird thing that happens is I'll upload a video. It does super good. It does excellent. I may have gotten 10,000 views in the first day, maybe 20 or 30,000 views in the first couple days. The strange thing is, I'll check back a couple days later, and it just stops growing. It just mysteriously goes from this to that immediately. Before, like when I first started the channel, when a video did good, it would rise for like a couple months. It would do good for a couple months. Now, my videos are only doing good for like a day, day and a half, two, and then it drops. So basically, the point of reading these emails too is YouTube or whatever, the social media masters, kings are making it impossible for me to run this channel the way it's supposed to be ran. It seems like nothing's growing. I'd have to upload a video every single day just to keep my stats from rising. And if I let everything drop, no one's going to be able to find my videos. That's why it's super important to me to keep the stats up, because there's no way I'm going to be able to pay all the bills if these videos and all this work is making nothing. And that's not what it's about, guys. But anytime the channel does good, you guys see new equipment, you see me doing new videos, new trips, and it's like, oh, I'm gonna buy this drone, I'm gonna buy this camera, I'm gonna buy this audio recorder. When the channel's not doing good, we can't do stuff like that. And that's just how it is. And I know for a fact, when you guys walk into the grocery store, you guys are spending a lot of money. So am I. And that's just how it is. People are saying these are the best 4 years they've ever had, but what I'm seeing is the complete opposite. But it seems like people are living in another dimension, and they say that these are the best years of their lives. So I think things are going to get hard. They're going to continue getting harder. The manipulation, the control is going to come down on us like an iron fist, and it already has, people. So stand up for your rights, stand up for what is right, and the most important thing is taking care of your brothers and sisters, your friends. Even if you don't like someone, we're all human. We should all be getting along, and we should just be leaving this world a better place than what it was after we die. But yeah, I appreciate everyone for the support. Sorry, I had ants crawling on me. But yeah, I appreciate everyone's support. I appreciate everyone for watching. If you guys can, like and subscribe. If you have an encounter you would like to share, email me at sasquatchtheory@outlook.com. And if you guys want to see more Sasquatch Theory, you can join the membership right now. But yeah, you guys aren't missing out on anything if you don't join. They're just little videos here and there. It's nothing special. So it's just for people that want to support the channel and enjoy seeing more from Sasquatch Theory. So I apologize if people feel left out, and I care about each and every one of you. Thank you guys so much for watching, and until the next one, thanks and be safe.